Hi, welcome to my channel, True Crime with Gael. Thanks so much for stopping by. If you do enjoy this video, please like, comment, or subscribe. Alright, let's begin. In 2007, the Apple Computer Company announced the release of the very first iPhone. The touchscreen mobile phone had been in development since 2005 and cost over $150 million to create. NASA also launched the Phoenix Mars lander from Cape Canaveral Air Force Station in Florida. It successfully landed on Mars during May of 2008 and used its instruments to thoroughly examine the soil of the planet and confirmed the existence of water-based ice in the subsurface of Mars. This left the world with the exciting possibilities of whether or not it was ever a hospitable climate for microbes or other alien life. The housing bubble burst, setting the stage for millennials to occupy Wall Street in the coming year. Nancy Pelosi was elected as the first female Speaker of the U.S. Congress, and Barack Obama announced he was running for president, giving us all false hope for major positive changes. 2007 was an extremely exciting year for science and technology, and personally laid the groundwork for my lifelong passion for combining activism with performance art. The camaraderie that's fostered in these movements molded me into the person I am today. In spite of this, all of these momentous events would pale in comparison to the catastrophic tragedy that was carried out by Seung Hui Cho within Virginia Tech's campus on April 16th. Seung Hui Cho was born on January 18, 1984, in the city of Asan, in South Korea's South Chungcheong province. Seung Hui and his family lived in a basement apartment in the city of Seoul. Seung Hui's father, Seung Dae Cho, had worked in oil fields and on construction sites in Saudi Arabia. In an arranged marriage, he married Kim Wang-in, the daughter of a farming family that had fled North Korea during the Korean War. When they started their family in Seoul, Seung Dae was self-employed as a used bookstore owner, but he felt that he wasn't making enough money to support his family. He wanted better education and opportunities for his 3 children, so he emigrated from South Korea to the United States with his family in September 1992, when Seung Hui was 8 years old. The family lived in Detroit at first, then moved to the Washington metropolitan area after learning that it had one of the largest South Korean expatriate communities in the U.S. Seung Hui's family settled in Centerville, a community in western Fairfax County, Virginia. Seung Hui's father and mother opened a dry cleaning business. After they moved to Centerville, Seung Hui and his family became permanent residents of the United States as South Korean nationals when he was 8 years old. In middle school, Seung Hui was diagnosed with a severe anxiety disorder with selective mutism, as well as major depressive disorder. Anxiety disorders are a cluster of mental disorders characterized by significant and uncontrollable feelings of anxiety and fear, such that a person's social, professional, and personal function are significantly impaired. Anxiety is a worry about future events, while fear is a reaction to current events. Symptoms of anxiety include restlessness, irritability, easy fatigability, difficulty concentrating, increased heart rate, chest pain, abdominal pain, and many others. In psychology, anxiety and fear have distinct meanings. Anxiety is defined as an unpleasant emotional state for which the cause is either not readily identified or perceived to be uncontrollable or unavoidable, whereas fear is an emotional and physiological response to a recognized external threat. Selective mutism is an anxiety disorder in which a person normally cannot speak in specific situations, specific places, or to specific people if triggered. Selective mutism usually coexists with social anxiety disorder. People with selective mutism stay silent even when the consequences of their silence include shame, social ostracism, or punishment. Major depressive disorder, also known as depression, is a mental disorder characterized by at least 2 weeks of pervasive low mood, low self-esteem, loss of interest in normally enjoyable activities, low energy, and pain without a clear cause are common symptoms. After Seung Hui's diagnosis, he began receiving treatment and continued to receive therapy and special education support until his junior year of high school. Seung Hui attended the Poplar Tree Elementary School in Chantilly. According to a 5th grade classmate of Seung Hui's, he finished the 3-year program at Poplar Tree Elementary School in 1.5 years and was pointed to as a good example by their teachers. During the spring of Seung Hui's 9th grade year, in 1999, the Columbine High School massacre made international news, and Seung Hui was transfixed by it. He reportedly idolized Eric Harris and Dylan Klebold. In a high school assignment, Seung Hui wrote about wanting to repeat Columbine and feeling compelled to replicate the Columbine boys, even outdo them. The school then contacted Seung Hui's sister, who reported the incident to their parents, so he was sent to a psychiatrist. Throughout high school, he was bullied for his shyness and unusual speech patterns. According to a Westfield High School classmate, Seung Hui looked down and generally refused to speak when called upon. While several students later recalled some instances of Cho being bullied and mocked at Westfield, most said they were not aware of his anger. Seung Hui graduated from Westfield High School in 2003. Virginia Tech is crouched in the Blue Ridge Mountains of Southwest Virginia. In his freshman year, Seung Hui enrolled as an undergraduate major in Business Information Technology, a program that included a combination of computer science and management coursework offered by the Pamplin College of Business. By his senior year, he was majoring in English. At the time of the attacks, Seung Hui lived with 5 roommates in a suite in Harper Hall. Some of Seung Hui's professors at Virginia Tech had seen clear warning signs of his disturbing behavior and tried to ring alarm bells with administrators. Nikki Giovanni taught him in a poetry class in the fall of 2005. She had him removed from her class because she found him to be menacing. Seung Hui had intimidated female classmates by photographing their legs under their desks and by writing violent and obscene poetry. Giovanni was willing to resign before she would continue working with him. About 6 weeks after the semester began, Giovanni wrote a letter to the department head, Lucinda Roy, who removed Seung Hui from the class. Roy alerted the Student Affairs Office, the Dean's Office, and the campus police, but each office responded that there was nothing they could do if Seung Hui made no overt threats against himself or others. After Giovanni was informed of the massacre, she remarked that, "I knew when it happened that that's probably who it was, and would have been shocked if it wasn't." Lucinda Roy had taught Seung Hui an introduction to poetry the previous year. She described him as a seemingly intelligent, awkward, lonely, insecure student who never took off his sunglasses even indoors, arrogant and obnoxious at times, and that she tried several different ways to help him. She said that Seung Hui would take 20 seconds to answer questions when called on in class, and would whisper. He also took cell phone pictures of her in class. After Roy became concerned with Seung Hui's behavior and the themes in his writings, she started meeting with him during office hours. However, she soon became so concerned for her safety that she told her assistant she would use the name of a dead professor as a duress code in order to alert the assistants to call security. After Roy notified authorities of Seung Hui's behavior, she urged him to seek counseling, but to her knowledge, he never followed through with the request. Fellow students described Seung Hui as a quiet person who would not respond if someone greeted him. A student who shared a dormitory suite with him reported that Seung Hui would sit in a wood rocker by the window in his room and stare at the lawn below. According to her, he appeared to never go to class or read a book during his senior year. He just typed on his laptop, went to the dining hall, and clipped his hair in the toilet, cleaning up the hair afterwards. She also reported that she witnessed him riding his bicycle in circles in the parking lot of the dormitory. Andy Koch and John Eade, who once shared a room with Seung Hui at Katherine Hall during 2005 and 2006, stated that he demonstrated other repetitive behaviors, such as listening repeatedly to Shine by the alternative rock band Collective Soul. He wrote the lines from the song's lyrics, "Teach me how to speak, teach me how to share, teach me where to go," on the wall of his dormitory room. Koch described two further unusual incidents, one in which Seung Hui stood in the doorway of his room late at night, taking photographs of him, and another in which he repeatedly placed harassing cell phone calls to Koch as Seung Hui's brother, ? A name Seung Hui also used when introducing himself to girls. Koch and Eade searched his belongings and found a pocket knife, but they did not find any items that they felt were threatening. Koch and Eade claimed that Seung Hui had been involved in at least 3 stalking incidents, 2 of which resulted in verbal warnings by the Virginia Tech campus police. The final alleged stalking incident came to light on December 13, 2005. In the preceding days, Seung Hui had contacted a female friend of Koch via AIM and wrote on her doorboard a line from Shakespeare's play Romeo and Juliet. The young woman was initially unconcerned by the AIM messages and the quotation until she was contacted by Koch via AIM, who informed her of Seung Hui's earlier stalking incidents. The young woman contacted the campus police, who warned him against further unwanted contact, and he complied. Later the same day, he sent a text message to Koch stating, "I might as well kill myself now." Worried that Seung Hui was suicidal, Koch contacted campus authorities. The campus police returned to the dormitory and escorted him to New River Valley Community Services Board, Virginia mental health agency serving Blacksburg. He was soon released with a court order to receive therapy as an outpatient. Documents released in June 2007 indicate that he did attend at least 1 counseling session at the Cook Counseling Center. 5 weeks before the shooting, Seung Hui bought his first handgun, a Walther .22 caliber pistol. He ordered it from an internet gun site and picked it up at a pawn shop near campus on February 9th. From evidence found in his dorm room, it was clear that he had been planning the assault on his fellow students and the faculty for quite some time. On March 13th, he bought the second gun at Roanoke Firearms, where he laid out the requisite 3 pieces of identification: his Virginia's driver's license, his green card, and a personal check. He paid by credit card $571 for a 9mm Glock pistol, one of the store's best sellers, a favorite for target shooting and self-defense. He also took 50 rounds of ammunition. He went to the Walmart in Christiansburg on March 31st, April 7th, April 8th, and April 13th. During those visits, he bought cargo pants, sunglasses, and .22 caliber ammunition. He also visited Dick's Sporting Goods for extra magazines of ammunition. Seung Hui spent several $1,000s getting ready for April 16th, most of it charged to a credit card. When researching true crime, it can often be difficult to find information about the victims. While I give this account of what occurred on this horrific day, I'd like to take moments to call to mind what made each of these people so special and unique. I can't, of course, summarize the true value of their lives, but I will do the best that I can. April 16, 2007, was a blustery, snowy Monday morning. This was the day 23-year-old Seung Hui chose for his rampage. Just after 7 a.m., he killed 2 students, Emily J. Hilscher and Ryan C. Stack Clark, on the 4th floor of West Ambler Johnston Hall, a high-rise co-educational dormitory. Emily was a skilled horsewoman, animal lover, and enthusiastic cook. She was wise beyond her years and insisted on fairness in everything. She wanted people to be happy, and she was always trying to save someone or something. Emily had a passion for horses, and in the fall of 2006, she began what was to be an 8-year journey at Virginia Tech, which would have culminated with her becoming a veterinarian and then working at an equine practice. Ryan was a resident advisor in West Ambler Johnston Hall and is believed to have come out of his room to investigate the noises in the room next door to his, only to stumble into death. Ryan was 22 and a member of the class of 2007. He was scheduled to receive his BS with a triple major in psychology, biology, and English at the 2007 commencement. He planned to pursue a PhD in neuroscience and wanted to work with the mentally impaired. He played the baritone in the Marching Virginians and left memories that are still cherished in the hearts of his family, bandmates, residents of Ambler Johnston Hall, colleagues, and friends. Investigators later determined that Seung Hui's shoes matched a blood-stained print found in the hallway outside Hilscher's room. Shoes and bloody jeans were found in Seung Hui's dormitory room, where he had stashed them after the attack. Emily's roommate, Heather, had shown up at 7:30 to meet her and accompany her to class. Instead, she found the campus police. She told them that Emily had a boyfriend, Carl, a senior at nearby Radford University. Emily had spent the weekend with him at his off-campus townhouse, and he had dropped her off at her dorm that morning. Heather also told them that Carl had guns and had been shooting them at a range 2 weeks earlier. Based on what she said, the police were sure this was a lover's quarrel. They went looking for Carl and found him on the highway, driving home from class. They pulled him over and started interrogating him, but he was the wrong man, and the police were at the wrong place. That gave Seung Hui time, that he needed. Within the next 2.5 hours, Seung Hui returned to his room to rearm himself. He also mailed a package to NBC News that contained pictures, digital video files, and documents. At 9:26 a.m., the university issued this email message to the campus. A shooting incident occurred at West Ambler Johnston earlier this morning. Police are on the scene and are investigating. The university community is urged to be cautious and are asked to contact Virginia Tech Police if you observe anything suspicious or with information on the case. By then, however, the university's message was much too late. At approximately 9:30 a.m., Seung Hui then crossed the campus to Norris Hall, a brown, cavernous, L-shaped classroom building situated on the other side of campus from Harper Hall. It can be walked to from Harper Hall in less than 15 minutes. In a backpack, he carried heavy-duty chains and locks, a hammer, a knife, 2 purchased handguns with 19 10 and 15 round magazines, and nearly 400 rounds of ammunition. Once there, Seung Hui wrapped chains around the interior handles of the doors and placed a note on one, saying that attempting to open the door would cause a bomb to explode. Shortly before the shooting began, a faculty member found the note and took it to the 3rd floor to notify the school's administration. At about the same time, Seung Hui had begun to shoot students and faculty on the 2nd floor. The bomb threat was never called in. The first 911 call was received at 9:42 a.m. With the entrances secured, Seung Hui mounted the stairs to the 2nd floor. The stairs he took emptied into the short end of the L, where there were 7 classrooms. 2 were vacant, and 5 were in session. Rooms 204, 205, 206, 207, and 211. Seung Hui geared up in the empty room 200 before the shooting began. According to several students, he looked into several classrooms, likely to see how many people were in each room. With his gun drawn, he forged into the classrooms. At 9:40 a.m., Seung Hui began shooting. His first attack occurred in an advanced hydrology engineering class, taught by Professor G.V. Loganathan in room 206. 13 registered students were inside. Seung Hui took a position in the doorway and first shot and killed the professor, then continued firing, killing 9 of the 13 students in the room and injuring 2 others. Dr. G.V. Loganathan was held in high regard by his students in the Charles E. Via Department of Civil and Environmental Engineering. This was a clear reflection of the fact that his students were his top priority. Phrases such as, "the best professor I ever had," "the kindest person I've ever met," and "incredibly wise and gentle" are common among the tributes paid to Dr. Loganathan by undergraduate and graduate students. Born in the state of Tamil Nadu, India, in 1954, G.V. journeyed to the U.S. for graduate studies at Purdue University, where he earned his Ph.D. in civil engineering. After exiting room 206, Seung Hui fired down the hall at 2 students who were fleeing from room 204. They managed to escape down the stairwell across the hall. He also fired at another student and substitute professor from room 205, who were peering out from the door, but they survived. He went into room 207, where instructor Jamie Bishop was teaching introductory German. Seung Hui shot Bishop and some students near the door, then walked around the classroom shooting more victims. Bishop and 4 students were killed. 6 other students were shot and wounded. Jimmy Bishop was a gentle colleague and generous friend who died at the age of 35. He was popular with students because he always gave them whatever individual attention they needed to succeed. Jamie was a fun-loving but no-nonsense man, easygoing but passionate about the environment, nature, hiking, film, art, the Atlanta Braves, and teaching. He had a reputation as a techno guru and was a passionate and gifted photographer. He had planned to enter the BFA program at Virginia Tech in fall 2007 to study graphic art. He was convinced that studying foreign languages was fundamental to understanding humanity. Seung Hui then moved on to Norris 211 and 204, where he was prevented from entering due to barricades erected by instructors and students. Hearing the commotion from below, Professor Kevin Granada guided 20 students from a classroom on the 3rd floor into his office where the door could be locked, and went downstairs to investigate along with another professor, Wally Grant, until they were both shot by Seung Hui in the hallway. Grant, who quickly fled into a bathroom, was wounded and survived. Granada died of his injuries. None of the students locked in Granada's office were hurt or killed. Dr. Kevin Granada, a professor in the Department of Engineering Science and Mechanics, was known by friends and colleagues as a man who was passionate, first and foremost about his family, and also about his work as an educator and researcher. After coming to Virginia Tech in 2003, he established the Musculoskeletal Biomechanics Laboratory, a top-flight research facility he co-directed with Dr. Michael Madigan. Dr. Thurman Lockhart said that, as a friend, he was caring and pure of heart. He gave me guidance about living a simple life. He was my friend, my colleague, and my mentor, and he will be truly missed. In room 211 of Intermediate French, Professor Jocelyne Couteau-Novec saw the armed aggressor heading towards the doorway. She and a student, Henry Lee, barricaded the door with a few desks, while she yelled at the students to get down on the floor and under their desks and call 911. Although the barricade kept him out initially, when he returned to room 211, Seung Hui pushed through it and entered the room. He then killed Novec and Lee, who fell behind the door. Jocelyne Couteau-Novec was a member of the Blacksburg community since 2001. Jocelyne was born in Montreal, Canada in 1958. Family, friends, students, and colleagues remember Jocelyne's community spirit, love of nature, and dedication to the preservation of her Francophone heritage. Jocelyne's joie de vivre touched all who encountered her. An unusual blend of energy and grace, she has been described as effervescent and a vivacious swirl of life force. She brought joy by living joyfully. Henry J. Lee, or Hein Lee, was born on November 21, 1986, in Quang Ninh, Vietnam. He was always the one to repair his family's computers, which turned out to be good preparation for becoming a computer engineering major at Virginia Tech. Henry was a creative person, interested in origami and photography. He also liked to watch movies and hang out with his friends. He will always be fondly remembered by his classmates and teachers as the young man with an open smile, zany personality. One of his proudest moments was becoming an American citizen in May 2006. After Novak and Lee had been killed, another student named Matthew Laporte charged towards Seung Hui and attempted to tackle him, but he died after being shot 7 times in an attempt to save his class. Matthew J. Laporte was born on November 20th, 1986, in Dumont, New Jersey, and was a considerate and mature sophomore majoring in political science. He loved playing music and relished the various challenges he faced as a member of the Virginia Tech Corps of Cadets. He also played tenor drum for the regimental band Tidy Tidies. Matt was attending college on an Air Force ROTC scholarship and was working to earn a commission in the United States Air Force. His goal was to be an intelligence officer once on active duty. Of the 22 students enrolled in Novak's class, 18 were present at the time of the shooting. In addition to the professor, a total of 11 students were killed, and another 6 were injured. Seung Hui then returned to room 206. The movements of a student named Walid Sha'Allah, who was already wounded, distracted him from a nearby student after he had returned to the room. Sha'Allah was shot a second time and died. Walid Sha'Allah, age 32, was originally from Zagazabun, Egypt. He came to Virginia Tech in 2006 as an international doctoral student in engineering. Walid began his PhD program in Egypt, but when Virginia Tech offered him an assistantship, he decided to continue his studies in Blacksburg. Though he had a hectic schedule, from juggling classes, research, and teaching assistants' responsibilities, he always made time for the people around him. He was known for his broad smile and the friendly wave with which he greeted everyone. After his first entry to room 207, several students had barricaded the door and had begun tending to the wounded. When Seung Hui returned minutes later, Caitlin Carney and Derek Odell were injured while holding the door closed, but the remaining students survived. In room 205, students had already barricaded the door with a large table after graduate assistant Hae-Young Chen, who was a substitute professor, and a student saw Seung Hui headed toward them. Seung Hui shot through the door about 7 times, but failed to force his way in. No one in the classroom was wounded or killed. Across the hall, in room 204, Professor Liviu Librescu forcibly prevented Seung Hui from entering the room. He was able to hold the door closed with his body until most of his students had jumped from the windows. After kicking open the window screens, the students successfully escaped. Some suffered leg injuries while landing on the ground 2 floors below. Others landed on the shrubbery just below the window and then ran either to some ambulances pulling up or to the nearest bus stop. Librescu died after Seung Hui overpowered and shot him. When his family, friends, and colleagues discovered Dr. Liviu Librescu blocked the door of his classroom in Norris Hall so that his students could escape through the windows, this was no surprise to them. The renowned aeronautical engineering educator and researcher had demonstrated profound courage throughout the 76 years of his life. As a child in Romania during World War II, Liviu was confined to a Jewish ghetto, while his father was sent to a forced labor camp. After surviving the Holocaust, Liviu moved forward with stalwart determination to become an engineer. Dr. Librescu was one of the university's and the world's most respected educators and researchers in the field of aeronautical engineering. One graduate student, Minal Panchal, also lost her life alongside Librescu because she heroically refused to leave until all of the students had evacuated. Minal Hiralal Panchal strengthened her family with her childlike enthusiasm and infectious laughter. She is remembered for her kindness, her lifelong passion for architecture, and her ability to focus on her goals and to dedicate herself to challenges. Minal was born in Borivali, Mumbai, India, on July 17, 1980. Called Minu by her family, she developed a talent for watercolor painting, swam, wrote poetry, read modern fiction, and enjoyed soft rock and Indian Western fusion music. At Virginia Tech, Minal's self-respect and ability to love radiated from her and helped her connect with countless people due to her kind, uncomplicated nature. Two others who were lying in a corner near the windows were injured. Upon seeing the open windows and hardly any students in the room, Seung Hui turned to the same two students who were taking cover and critically injured them before leaving and re-entering room 206 the third time. In room 206, another wounded student named Guillermo Coleman was shielded from more serious injury by having the body of a student, Partahi Lumben Toruen, placed on top of him. Two other students who were also in the room made it out alive. Partahi Mora Lumben Toruen, a PhD student in civil engineering, was calm and always ready to help others. A native of Indonesia, he was born on April 26, 1972. Mora's smile was contagious, and he radiated positive energy that attracted and cemented friendships. He was admired for his patience, wisdom, and compassion for others. He could put a smile on the faces of stressed friends and help them not worry about little things. In a span of 10 to 15 minutes, Seung Hui fired more than 175 rounds and shot dozens of people, killing 30 of them. These are the remaining people whose lives were cut short on that cold and gruesome morning. Ross Alimodin from Saugus, Massachusetts, was a sophomore who recently declared a major in English and minors in French and business, fields that reflected his creativity and his computer knowledge. He enjoyed computer games and played them competitively. He beta tested well-known games and even sold online characters. Ross enjoyed rollerblading, movies, and music, played piano, and loved to sing. Ross always sought to make others laugh and enjoy life. Brian Roy Bloom was born in Cedar Rapids, Iowa, on July 19, 1981. He earned his BS in civil engineering from Virginia Tech in December 2004. After enrolling in the civil engineering master's degree program at Tech, Brian served as a teacher's assistant and focused on water resources in his research. He completed his degree in 2007. Brian was passionate about sports, particularly baseball, and his favorite team was the Detroit Tigers. Brian would want to be remembered for his love of God, family, friends, the Detroit Tigers, and Virginia Tech. He loved life and lived it to the fullest. Austin Michelle Cloyd was from Charlotte, North Carolina, and was 18 years old. She lived life boldly, seeking new experiences and embracing those she felt passionate about. She lived her life with purpose and was interested in politics and international and environmental issues. Austin was a double major in international studies and French at Virginia Tech. She worked 4 summers with the Appalachia Service Project to help make homes in rural Appalachia warmer, safer, and drier. She loved children and worked with them as often as she could. Austin had a brilliant mind, a compassionate heart, and an iron will. She not only wanted to help others, she did. Matthew Walton was born on December 11, 1982, and was from Chester, Virginia. He was a second-year master's student in the Charles E. Via Department of Civil and Environmental Engineering. He wanted to improve awareness and education about environmental issues, to encourage people to be proactive in protecting the environment and improving the quality of life for everyone. As a graduate student, he taught civil engineering labs and was conducting research on storm water management. Matthew had many lasting friends who have remembered him as honest, dedicated, generous, and intelligent. He was a real mentor and role model. Caitlin Miller Hammerin was born on May 4, 1987, and from Westtown, New York. She had a way of making others feel as if they were her best friend. Her smile was contagious, and her eyes sparkled under any circumstances. At Virginia Tech, where Caitlin was a sophomore double majoring in international studies and French, she continued caring about and helping people. She was a resident advisor in the residential leadership community, and she took care of each of her residents as if they were her own children. Caitlin dedicated her time outside her studies to many activities close to her heart, among them riding horses, singing, and playing the violin. Jeremy Michael Herbst loved to run marathons, hike, kayak, bike, ski, and work on his family farm. A phenomenal friend, brother, and son, and a dedicated teacher, he was born on November 6, 1979, in Bellefonte, Pennsylvania. He enrolled as a graduate student in civil engineering at Virginia Tech, where he was a teaching assistant and recipient of the Sussman Scholarship for summer 2007. Jeremy will forever be loved and missed by all, and his amazing life will never be forgotten. A memorial 5K was run annually by his friends and family up until 2012, so that his compassionate heart and passion for life continued to live on. Rachel Elizabeth Hill of Glen Allen, Virginia, loved to read, especially novels and the Bible. An accomplished classical pianist, she had studied piano since the age of 6. Although Rachel had just started college as an undergraduate in fall 2006, she already knew she wanted to earn a PhD in biochemistry, specializing in nanotechnology. She enjoyed classic movies, playing volleyball, shopping for shoes, and hanging out with her parents. Her personal goal was to glorify God in all she did. Jarrod Lane was fun-loving and full of spirit. He had a caring heart and was a friend to everyone he met at Virginia Tech, where he was a senior in civil engineering. Born on March 28, 1985, Giles County, Virginia, Jarrod always excelled in sports and academics. Jarrod would have graduated from Virginia Tech in the 2007 commencement. He had been accepted at the University of Florida's Coastal Engineering graduate program. Lauren Ashley Mccain was a freshman majoring in international studies. Lauren strived for excellence in her studies, but as much as she cared about learning, she cared about people even more. She had a quirky sense of humor and a love of life that she shared with everyone. Her smile was bright and cheered those around her. Daniel Patrick ONeill is a scientist and an artist from Lincoln, Rhode Island. he was working on a master's degree in environmental engineering. Daniel loved playing guitar and piano, theater, and politics, and was active in drama productions and variety shows. At Virginia Tech, he worked as a teaching assistant in civil and environmental engineering. Daniel also liked running, Red Sox baseball, hockey football and basketball, backpacking, biking, skateboarding, and traveling. Juan Ramon Ortiz was born on February 4, 1981 in San Juan, Puerto Rico. Juan and his wife, Lizelle, both started the master's program in civil engineering at Virginia Tech in August 2006. He was a research and teaching assistant, and Professor G.V. Loganathan was his mentor. His love for God and his family also filled his life. Juan's family remembers him for his perseverance, dedication, patience, responsibility, and most importantly, his smile. His life was characterized by his desire to become a better person each day. He changed the lives of everyone he met, filling them with love and happiness. Daniel Perez, age 21, was a junior majoring in international studies. Originally from Peru, Daniel could accomplish anything he put his mind to. He dreamed of being heard, bringing people together, and making peace in the world, and believed that God put everyone here to make a difference in someone's life. He loved to see his friends happy, and many of them viewed him as a role model. He said they were honored to have been able to call him friend. He wasn't afraid to make his voice heard and encouraged people around him to be better individuals. Erin Nicole Peterson was born August 17, 1988 in Fairfax, Virginia. Erin's personality was a wonderful blend of warmth and magnetism, anchored by a sound moral compass. She lived a life that was filled with joy, which she freely shared with others. In return, she attracted the admiration and respect of her peers and the complete adoration of her family. Erin entered Virginia Tech in fall 2006, majoring in international studies. While Erin's passing left a hole in the hearts of her family and friends, her spirit and her legacy of excellence, optimism, leadership, and love will live forever. Michael Bullitt Jr. was born on October 15, 1983, in Newark, New Jersey, and maintained a curiosity about everything around him. He constantly ventured out to learn new things. Mike would do anything for his teammates and his friends. He never lost his love for learning, either in the classroom or in life. He was set to graduate with a BS in biology at the 2007 commencement. Everyone who knew Mike remembered him for always helping people. He befriended those who felt they did not fit in, or who were lost in the crowd with no one to turn to. It was instinctive for Mike to help. It was his calling. A dedicated environmentalist, Julia Kathleen Pride chose biological systems engineering for both her 2006 BS and her master's degree. It was natural for her to care deeply for others. Julia, born on September 7, 1983, in Middletown, New Jersey, was an avid swimmer, enjoyed soccer and football, and had a great interest in music. A certified wildland firefighter, she worked with the Student Conservation Association and was a member of a firefighting team deployed to fight fires in Arizona in 2005. Julia was kind, generous, brave, warm, and accepting. She embraced challenges with enthusiasm, always in pursuit of a better world and a better self. Mary Karen Reed, a freshman majoring in interdisciplinary studies, was born on January 30th, 1988, in Seoul, South Korea. Mary was contemplating a career in elementary education. At Virginia Tech, her deep faith was evident in every aspect of her life. Mary loved spending time with her family and friends, especially on trips to the mountains, the beach, and the lake, and was happiest helping others, especially children. Renowned for her beautiful, constant smile and sweet personality, she relished her role of big sister to her 5 younger siblings. Rima Joseph Samaha, a lifelong resident of Centerville, Virginia, was the youngest child of Joseph and Mona Samaha. Rima maintained lifelong friendships with diverse people who were drawn to her openness, cheerfulness, creativity, and wit. At Virginia Tech, she intended to major in urban planning. She was also a member of the contemporary dance ensemble, the Hill and Vale Middle Eastern Dance Group, and the Cedars of Lebanon Club. Leslie Geraldine Sherman, a junior in the Virginia Tech Honors Program, majoring in history and international relations, was an inspiring young woman who could do it all and excel. Leslie loved photography, visiting historical sites and museums, reading, running, and traveling throughout the United States, especially to Seattle and around the world. Leslie felt a driving need to help those who were less fortunate, often volunteering her personal time and giving of herself. Leslie wanted to continue serving the less fortunate by joining the Peace Corps upon graduation. Maxine Shelley Turner was an honor student from Vienna, Virginia, and was ready to graduate with a degree in chemical engineering. She was brilliant, beautiful, and talented, and excelled at everything she committed herself to, including swing dancing, taekwondo, schoolwork, violin, and her favorite video game, Zelda. She talked to herself while playing video games, stuck her tongue out for photographs, and sang aloud while doing homework with her headphones on. These were just some of the endearing quirks that made Max so lovable. Nicole Regina White, from Smithfield, Virginia, was born on August 23, 1986. A junior at Virginia Tech, Nicole was majoring in international studies with a minor in political science. While at Virginia Tech, she was an active volunteer at both the local animal shelter and the battered women's shelter. Nicole loved her friends, and her friends loved her. She was the type of person who would not judge a person by his or her outward appearance, but looked at the person's heart. She wanted to know people as they really were, not as they appeared. At around 9:50 a.m., the first police officers on the scene forced their way in by blasting open the front doors with a shotgun. That blast, investigators believe, alerted Seung Hui that he had time for only one more shot. He committed suicide in room 211 with a gunshot to his temple. He massacred 27 students and 5 teachers before killing himself. The gunshot wound destroyed his face, obstructing identification of his body for several hours. The police identified Seung Hui by matching immigration records with the fingerprints on the guns that were used in the shootings. Forensic evidence later confirmed that the same guns were used in both the Norris Hall shootings and the earlier one at West Ambler Johnston Hall. The entire nation was shocked and horrified by the events at Virginia Tech. Up until that point, the largest campus shooting had taken place in 1966, when Charles Whitman killed 15 people on the campus of the University of Texas at Austin. Seung Hui's manifesto rambled and was indicative of what is usually found in the manifestos of mass murderers. He saw his victims as rich brats. He was bullied and picked on. He hates organized religion. He was an avenger for the weak and defenseless. Blah, blah, blah. Insert big fucking yawn right here. Seung Hui even referred to the notorious Columbine shooters, Eric Harris and Dylan Klebold, as martyrs. On April 20th, Seung Hui's older sister prepared a statement on her family's behalf to apologize publicly for her brother's actions, in addition to lending prayers to the victims and the families of the wounded and killed victims. "This is someone that I grew up with and loved. Now I feel like I didn't know this person," she said in the statement, issued through an attorney. "We never could have envisioned that he was capable of so much violence." In a 2008 article marking the anniversary of the massacre, the Washington Post did a follow-up on the family, reporting that they had gone into hiding for months following the massacre, and after eventually returning home, they had virtually cut themselves off from the world. Several windows in their home had been papered over, and drawn blinds covered the rest. They even refused to contact their own relatives in South Korea. Seung Hui was a mass murderer. Mass murderers and spree killers are often confused for each other. Mass murder is the act of murdering a number of people, typically simultaneously or over a relatively short period of time and in close geographic proximity. The FBI defines mass murder as murdering 4 or more people during an event with no cooling off period between the murders. A mass murder typically occurs in a single location where one or more people kill several others. Spree killers, sometimes referred to as rampage killers, murder 2 or more victims, but at more than one location. Although their murders occur in separate locations, their spree is considered a single event because there is no cooling off period between the murders. A mass murder may be committed by individuals or organizations, whereas a spree killing is committed by 1 or 2 individuals. In the aftermath of the shooting, everyone was eager to discover how it had happened and what could be done to prevent a massacre like this from happening again. On June 17, 2008, Judge Theodore Markow approved an $11 million settlement in a suit against the state of Virginia by 24 of the 32 victims' families. Of the other 8 victims, 2 families chose not to file claims, while 2 remained unresolved. The settlement also covered 18 people who were injured. Their lifelong health care needs were included in the settlement. On March 29, 2011, the Department of Education levied a fine of $55,000 against Virginia Tech for waiting too long to notify students of the initial shootings, in violation of the Clery Act. The Clery Act requires all colleges and universities that participate in federal financial aid programs to keep and disclose information about crime on or near their respective campuses. The fine was the highest amount that the Department of Education could levy. On March 30, 2011, the university had announced its intention to appeal the decision. On March 30, 2012, a federal judge overturned the fine, finding that the university did not violate the Clery Act. On September 1, 2012, Education Secretary Arne Duncan reinstated half the fine, $27,500. In the statement released when the fine was reinstated, Duncan wrote, "Although the police department hypothesized that the crime was domestic in nature, the record is clear that the respondent had not located the suspect, had not found the weapon, and was confronted with the distinct possibility that the gunman was armed and still at large." Duncan agreed to an additional $5,000 fine on January 3, 2014. Ultimately, Virginia Tech paid a total of $32,500 in February 2014, saying it was closing this chapter on the tragedy of April 16, 2007, without admitting wrongdoing. From a practical safety standpoint, Virginia Tech and other schools implemented a host of physical safety changes. Things such as installing locks on the inside of classrooms and replacing the hardware on double doors so that they couldn't be chained together and locked from the inside. From a policy standpoint, however, one of the most significant impacts of the mass shooting was an amendment to the 1990 Clery Act, the federal law that requires institutions of higher education not only to collect and report campus crime statistics, but also to develop a multimodal emergency warning system to dispatch information as quickly as possible. In addition to a text messaging system, Virginia Tech and other schools also use email, Twitter, tornado sirens, electronic signs that hang in classrooms, desktop alerts, and their homepage to alert their community to an emergency situation. Less than a year after the shooting, President George W. Bush signed the NICS Improvement Amendments Act. This tightened reporting of mental health data from states to federal databases for background checks on weapons purchases. The bipartisan legislation is considered to be one of the strongest recent federal mandates on gun sales. As a result of that law, almost every state dramatically improved reporting of that kind of information. After institutions and people were held accountable and the dust had settled, what was left behind were gaping spaces that once held precious, treasured life. Those who survived and loved ones left behind began to do the important work of healing in whichever ways they could. Hokie stone is a mineral found in the Appalachian Mountains and most prevalent in Virginia, Tennessee, and Alabama. It's a sedimentary rock formed from calcium and magnesium carbonate and occurs in muted shades of pink, red, gray, brown, and black. In the hours following the April 16th tragedy, the student-driven volunteer organization Hokies United placed 32 Hokie stones on the drill field. The semicircle of stones became a place to gather, to mourn, and to reflect, and inspired an April 16th memorial site. They dedicated 32 engraved Hokie stones in honor and in memory of those who were lost. Virginia Tech also began to hold an annual Day of Remembrance that started off as a day and now spans entire weekends. These days are filled with events to celebrate the lives of the 32 victims and remind its participants to cherish life and live it to the fullest. Events for the weekend begin with a memorial ceremony where a remembrance candle is lit at midnight on April 16th and the names of the 32 Hokies lost are read. Cadets then guard the candle for 32 minutes after it's first lit and 32 minutes before the candle is extinguished on the next day. There's a 3.2-mile run that's not only held at the university, but also at other locations all over the country. There are also blood drives and fundraisers held to raise money for Virginia Tech scholarships. In addition to this, people are encouraged to creatively express themselves through art exhibits in their library and performances of remembrance in their art center. Seung Hui took 32 lives that day. He stole any opportunity they had to experience new and exciting things. He snatched precious time away with their loved ones. He swiped away the chance for them to say one last "I love you," or even "I'm sorry." He was a disgusting monster who decided to commit suicide and take 32 lives with him in the process. I have had my own struggles with mental illness, specifically with bouts of deep depression. I understand how mental illness can often be unfairly stigmatized and misunderstood. However, I have to pause when I think of mentally ill people who are a danger to others and how easy it is for them to buy a gun in America. Could this massacre have been avoided if Seung Hui wasn't able to purchase the guns in the first place? Would he have gone to counseling if he wasn't able to get the guns? Or would he have built a bomb instead? People in the UK have many more restrictions when purchasing firearms, but they attack each other with knives and acid instead. I fully support the Second Amendment because as a woman and follower of true crime, I'm acutely aware of the dangerous people that could lurk around any corner. However, does this weapon only bring me a false sense of security? What do you think about gun control? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Thanks so much for visiting my channel. If you enjoyed the video, please hit the like button and subscribe for more content. And don't forget to hit the notification bell so you never miss a video. I'll be posting mostly true crime, but also other mysteries and conspiracy theories, and I'm working towards posting at least twice a week. Making YouTube videos is a little harder than I thought. Also, some of the victims' families have created foundations in their names to honor their memories. I've included links to these foundations in the description below if you'd like to learn more and feel moved to donate your money or your time. Take care of yourselves. I'll see you soon. I hope you all have peaceful and fulfilling weeks. Bye.